Hey friend, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to learn how to live an intentional life or build their creative business. I'll be giving you my very best business tips, bringing you interesting guests, giving you a daily dose of Jesus, and I'm committed to always keeping it real. Grab a cup of coffee and let's dive in. I'm so honored that you're here. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the Jennifer Allwood Show. I'm always so impressed that you guys show up week after week and you share this podcast with your friends and your family. And so many of you have gone over to iTunes and left reviews. We're at nearly 1,000 reviews on the iTunes, which just makes me giddy. So thank you for being here this week. This is episode number 121, where I just decided to take a bunch of questions from people here on the interwebs. Here's what I know to be true. Two things. Number one, I stinking love Q&A. It's the weirdest thing, you guys. Like, do any of you just have things about yourself that you're just random? Like, random things. Like, I am super talented at twirling a baton. Random. What else can I do that's kind of weirdish? Let me think. Do I even have any other skills on this side of heaven? I can paint some things and decorate some things. But what I really love to do is like rapid fire Q&A. I love people asking me questions, and maybe it's the thrill, I don't know, it's something weird of having to just like answer when I'm put under pressure on the spot. I think I like pressure. Gosh, that's really weird and random. And so when I get into a Q&A situation, when I'm on a panel of people, when people are in real life asking me at one of my conferences or something, questions, I thrive in that environment. This is something we literally do once a month in my inner circle, which is my creators inner circle is where I teach people every month how to do social media. And once a month we have a live Q&A, and I bring on as many faces as I can live on the screen with me over the course of, I always say an hour, it's always an hour and a half. And I just answer people's questions live. And here's what I know to be true. Number one, that I love that and I thrive in that environment. And number two, sometimes as entrepreneurs, especially, we get stumped on just like the next thing, right? Like we're chugging along, we're feeling fancy, feeling froggy, everything's grooving. And then we hit a thing where we're like, okay, I don't know what to do next. Like if I just knew how to attach my Instagram to my Facebook, like I could get to the next step. Or if I just knew how to hire a VA, I could get to the next step. Or if I just knew how to whatever, that we could have progress in our business. And one of the things that I'm so committed to as a human being is just helping other women see progress in both their life and especially their business. And so I know that if I can just answer a quick question for you, which requires little of me, but sometimes it's just enough for you to be able to go to where you're currently stuck at to now you're like up, you're cresting the top of the hill, and now you're just like zooming down. And so if I can do that for you, because I know so many times in my career, I've had just a really quick question. And when I've had somebody who's further along than I am, just take a few minutes just to give me some advice. Sometimes that quick advice is the difference maker. Often it's come from complete strangers, you guys. People that I'm coaching with, people who I'm in one of their online groups, they don't know me because they've got thousands of people. Sometimes it's a mentor that knows me well, but a lot of times it's just getting an answer from somebody who's further ahead than I am that makes all the difference in the world. So we're going to do that today. We had asked you guys for questions on both my Facebook page and my Instagram page. We got a ton of them from you. So we've kind of narrowed down my favorites. Nell did this for me. She's given them to me. I glanced at them. Here's the deal. I don't really like to prepare. Number one, as a creative, I work really well under tight timelines and under pressure. Number two, on the Colby test, I'm a quick start. If you don't know what that is, you should totally go take the Colby test. And so it basically means that like, I like thinking on my feet. I like the thrill of not knowing what's coming my direction and then having to execute nicely on that. And so I haven't looked at these very closely. I'll be shooting from the hip on most of them. And I think that sometimes that's how you get the best out of me. So real quick though, I wanted to share a review from Leanne at Sparkled at Heart. Now listen, if you guys go over to iTunes and you leave a review for this podcast, please leave your business name. And the reason I want you to leave your business name is so that I can give you a shout out like I just did to Leanne, who has Sparkled at Heart. So here's what Leanne says. She says, the Jennifer Allwood Show is my go-to podcast. I have so many episodes saved that I listen to weekly and get new nuggets every time I replay. The way Jennifer relays information is uplifting and encouraging, and I'm amazed that whatever she says, someone needs to hear this. It's almost always what I need to hear at that moment. Thank you, Jennifer. Well, Leanne at Sparkled at Heart, thank you. And I just pray God's blessing over your business. I pray you extra creativity, extra dollars in your bank account, and just fruitfulness to you and everything that you set your hand to. So, all right, we are going to get started with the Q&As. And again, this is what we do in my inner circle every month. And it's super valuable, I think, for most people. I don't like to get a whole lot of background information because what I found is a lot of times entrepreneurs will want to give like this whole 5 or 10 minute spiel before they give me their question. And often I don't need the spiel. I don't need to know, that your grandfather gave you the business and you changed the name because it was important to your, your son, and then your mother-in-law moved in and that made everything wonky. And then, I don't need to know all that. I just need to know the question. So we're going to keep these as short as possible. And I hope that you can learn as much as possible. So without further ado, we're going first with Bambi, who owns a business called On Fire Life. Now listen, if you know Bambi, somebody give that girl a shout out right now. Somebody forward her this podcast, because what I would hate to happen is all these people have put in these questions and then the person that actually asked the question would miss the answer. So if you know Bambi at On Fire Life, I want you to send this to her. So here's what Bambi says. I try to custom market each of my blog posts to each social media platform I'm putting it on. So what she's saying is she makes it sound a little bit different probably for Facebook than what she does with Instagram because the audiences are different. So I know YouTube is best for how-to types of content. By the way, side note, did you hear my episode on the podcast last week where I spoke to YouTube sensation Sean Cannell? He was a pastor, has become a YouTube phenom, has millions of bajillions of downloads. So if you don't know about YouTube and you wish you did for your business, please go listen to that. So Bambi says, I know YouTube is best for how-to types of content. She's exactly right. Facebook and Instagram do best with stories, yes. And Pinterest is the best place to sell. Good for you for understanding Pinterest is huge for traffic. My question is LinkedIn worth making a special post for? I read that it's the best place for business-to-business referrals, and it has more users than Twitter. Should I be working my LinkedIn? Okay, Bambi. First of all, if your audience is on LinkedIn, then it would behoove you to probably spend some time on LinkedIn. If your ideal clients are there, then absolutely. The other part of that, though, is do you understand LinkedIn? Because I have a LinkedIn account, and I'm telling you the truth, I know not what it's all about. I don't know what I'm doing. And quite frankly, I don't care. But that's just because I feel like as entrepreneurs, we've got to really be laser focused in a few areas. I never like my entrepreneurs to be focused on one social media, always one plus, always one and at least one more in the event that anything goes sideways. Instagram, for instance, went down yesterday. And my entrepreneurs inside my creators inner circle, they didn't freak out at all. Why? Because I've always taught them, don't put all of your eggs into any one social media basket. So with that being said, if you are already rocking at Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, and you know what the heck you're doing, and you think that your clients are on LinkedIn, and you understand it, or have the resources to outsource it and have somebody do it for you, then Bambi, by all means, go crazy on LinkedIn to the glory of God. I do think that, wasn't Lewis Howes one of the first entrepreneurs who really rocked at LinkedIn and I believe still uses that really well? I could be totally lying and making that up, but I believe that that's the case. So I do sometimes think that some of those early people on those social medias who knew what the heck they were doing really have it made. But with that being said, I love how Stu McLaren always says the best day to start a tree, or the best time to start a tree was a decade ago, and the second best time is today. Meaning, if you haven't already started LinkedIn, but you think that you're going to be halfway good at it, or you know kind of what you're doing, or you think your clients are there, then absolutely go do it. So, Teresa Parker, who her business name is also called Teresa S. Parker, asked next. Ooh, this is a good one, friends. This is a good one. With Facebook's new way of dealing with business pages, how in the world is the best way to engage people on your page? Even with over 112,000 followers, the engagement that was once there still seems to fall flat no matter what I do. Okay, so Teresa, here's the deal. The good old days on Facebook, I do believe are long gone. Now, with that being said, I think that it's really important that we remember as entrepreneurs that Facebook is still the giant when it comes to social media, meaning I don't know what the current stats are. It's something like 7 billion with a B people a day are logging onto their Facebook accounts. When you look just statistically, and you got to look at the numbers because data don't lie, more people are on Facebook than any other social media. So although the algorithm stinks, and trust me, it stinks, you still need to have a presence there. Now listen, I am working on a Facebook post right now where I basically go into a little rant. Oh, and here's the truth, you guys. I love Jesus, so I got to be really careful with my rants because the older I get, it's like the more passionate I get about things, and I'm trying to like censor myself, like simmer down, Allwood, simmer down. Yesterday, I did a rant here on Facebook about the customer service I received from a particular airline that I wasn't thrilled with, and my blood pressure just tends to go way up. So I'm trying to keep it more even, okay? Trying to keep it more even. With that being said, Facebook is still the absolute very best place to grow an audience in the online space for free. Now, if people are telling you you have to pay to play, they're lying to you. Please don't believe that. You don't have to pay to play. Does paying for Facebook ads help on your page, especially if you're trying to get new likes or get your content in front of new people or get your content in front of existing people? Absolutely. Is this something to gripe about? It's not. Think about like business 10 or 15 years ago when we were PF, BF, like pre-Facebook, before Facebook. Think of it that way. Every legit business on the face of the planet had, for the most part, a marketing budget. If they didn't stay in business very long. You either paid for mailers to go in the mail, you paid to be in your kids' like football directory, you paid to have something in the yellow pages. Come on now, somebody give me a tweet if you can remember the yellow pages. But you paid to have your business show up somewhere. On the Googles, you paid to have it listed in some directory for your community, your neighborhood, whatever. So think of it as, when you're thinking about Facebook ads, think of it as just the cost of doing business in the year 2019. And a lot of people are like, well, I refuse to pay to play. Well, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to pay to play. We are spending literally on my Facebook page right now, and I have 355,000 followers, $5 a day in ads. $5 a day. So you don't have to pay to get your stuff in front of people or to get more followers. But here's what you do have to do. Honey, you got to go live on Facebook. If you want more followers, you have to go live. Gosh, I wish that my team was sitting right here. I would ask them, hey team, we have a freebie for people. And every time when I don't look at my notes close enough, I don't realize what the freebie is I'm supposed to give people. Okay, do this. Go search for jenniferallwood.com/ let's just go out on a limb and say FB-live. Now, Chris, when you get this podcast episode, if I totally lied and gave people the wrong URL, I'll have to do a voiceover. But I believe it's something like jenniferallwood.com/ Facebook Live or FB Live or something like that. But I basically have a free training for you on how to do Facebook Lives. I tell you how long they need to be. Newsflash, it's 15 minutes minimum. I tell you how many lives you need to do. Newsflash, it is twice a week. I give you kind of a little bit of a system for doing your lives. I tell you that quit worrying about things like your background. I've got pictures sitting on the floor behind me right now. Quit worrying about things like your lighting. If your content is lovely and delicious, people really could care less about stuff like lighting. Think of the most viral things that you've seen on social media. Half of them didn't have a pretty background. You're using excuses, most people do, as to why they don't want to go live. So if you don't want to do ads, here's what you have to do to play the current Facebook game. You have to be posting content, Teresa, that is Me Tooable, that is shareable. Okay, so listen, when I say Me Tooable, I'm not talking about the hashtag Me Too that's current in the news right now, okay? I was talking about the Me Too factor a long time ago. The Me Too factor basically means when somebody reads one of your posts on Facebook, what you want them to do is read it in a way where they're going, oh my gosh, me too. Because what happens is when people go, oh my gosh, me too, she's a hot mess. Her kids are already complaining about being bored when they've only been out of school for a week. Oh my goodness, her living room looks a hot wreck half the time, even though it's in a magazine. That's amazing. Me too. When people read something you post on social media and they're either obsessed with it, like if you have a product, or they read it and you're a personal brand and they're like, oh my goodness, me too, that's when they share it. And the best way to grow your page organically without ads is by people sharing your content. Yes, you want them to like it. Yes, you'd love them to comment on it. But what you really want is for people to share it, okay? Think of it this way. The like, comment, and share is a progression of relationship with people, all right? So I'm gonna get graphic. For those of you who, you're a little concerned about public display of affections, just simmer down, all right? So this is how Facebook works. If I do a Facebook post and Teresa, you're like, dang, Jennifer, I loved that post, and you hit like, it's like you're giving me a big old bear hug, Teresa. It's like, girl, I like you. I like what you just said. I like it. I like it. I like it. And I'm like, hey, Teresa, thank you. Now, Teresa, if you take it one step further and you comment, so maybe you like or maybe you don't like, I don't care. But if you comment on it, Teresa, that is like you are giving me a big old kiss right on the lips. Wait, I started way too early in this progression of physical affection. Okay, Teresa, we're going back to square one. Number one, you like my post. That's a handshake. That's a handshake. You're going to see in just a minute while I was taking this way too far in a non-PG direction. You comment on my post. Now we've got a hug. Now you like me enough to comment, then you're giving me a big old bear hug. If you share my content, that's like a big old kiss on the cheek, a big old smacker on the lips, whatever. You want people to share your content. That's the progression that you want. Yes, you want them to like, but then you really want them to comment, and you most want them to share. Does that make sense? By the way, if we started out with hugging and then went to kissing, there was only one place left to go, and this ain't that type of podcast. So sorry, Mom. Okay, so with 112,000 people on your page, you can roughly, at this point, hope for 5 to 10% reach on your page. Anything over 10% on your page, just figure as a win. Just figure as a win. And let me just boil this down to some basic math for you. I was talking about math in my new book today, by the way. I love math. Total math nerd. I love numbers. Give me pi, not apple pie, but give me like 3.14, whatever. I love that kind of stuff. It comes down to basic numbers. If you have 112,000 people on your page, and let's just say 10% of those are seeing a post. So you got 11,000 people sharing your post. Well, get double the amount on your page. We'll still hope for a 10% reach, and then you'll have double the people seeing it. Does that make sense? I know that it's frustrating in 2019, especially if you were running your page in 2014. I know it's so irritating because it used to be so much easier to get engagement, used to be so much easier to get new followers. But the truth is, until you and I are smart enough to make our own social media with a different algorithm, we just can't gripe about it. We can't gripe about the best marketing tool for our business on the face of the planet. And also, and if you listen to my podcast long enough, you'll hear an episode on the Monday Fire where I talk about business from a biblical perspective. You want your page to grow, Teresa, on Facebook, right? So be really careful in the bad words that you use when talking about Facebook. Do you know what I mean? If you want to see your Facebook page grow, even though I know it's frustrating, try to really monitor the words that come out of your mouth and not curse the very thing that you're hoping to grow. So, okay, with that being said, we're going next question to Ashley Freeze. Her business is called The Farmer Took the Wife. Or is it just The Farmer Took Wife? The Farmer Took Wife. I'm not sure if we're missing a word there or not. Somebody text Ashley and let her know I'm talking about her. Okay, I love this question, Ashley. You're so smart. How do you get people to open your emails? I have a list around 500 people on my email list, and only 8% open and 1.5 click a link. Okay, Ashley, listen. The size of your email list matters. There's a lot of numbers that are vanity matrix, by the way. So you can have 1 million people following you on Facebook and a reach of just, 1% of that. And so who the heck cares if you've got 1 million people? I'd rather you have 10,000 people and a 40% reach. Do you know what I mean? So there are some numbers that literally do not matter. A healthy list is one that has a good open rate. And of that 500, I hope that you have checked to see how many people have opened your emails in the last 6 months. If ever you guys want me to do a podcast on healthy email lists and how to get as many open rates as possible, let me know and I will try to do a whole entire podcast episode just dedicated to that. But okay, you've got a list of 500 people. Here's why I'm talking about what's called list hygiene, according to my friend Christina Etheridge. List hygiene basically means you can have 500 people on that list, Ashley, but let's say you've had that list for 2 years and you haven't been really good at sending out emails. And so you've kind of become, to a lot of people, irrelevant, because what happens is we get so many emails all day long, right? On our phones, everything's dinging, that unless you're showing up in somebody's email on a pretty consistent basis, they have just the capacity to forget about you. I don't say that to sound harsh, I'm just telling you that the attention span of the normal human being in the year 2019 is so stinking small that unless you are constantly in front of your people, they will forget about you and somebody will just come right in and replace you. So how do you get people to open your emails? Number one, you need to make sure you are emailing them consistently. For years and years and years, I have emailed once a week. Every single week. We will be hitting 100,000 people on my email list in the next couple of months. And so, but we also do healthy list cleans. So that means every 6 months we go through the list. And for somebody who has not opened an email from me, I would need to check my team. It's either 90 days or 6 months. We delete them off our email list because essentially they're dragging down the open rate because they're never going to open an email. Does that make sense? And open rates matter. And so if you want to up your open rate from 8%, a couple things you need to do. Send consistent emails all the time. If you're a boutique or you have a product like that, then you can send them more than once a week. If you're not, I'd still go once a week with your email list. Number two, make sure you have good titles that are like openable. You know what I mean? That makes people want to open. I'll get an email from the Red Dress Boutique and I get one every day. And their titles are always something juicy. And their titles are always something like, this romper won't last long. And then in my head, because I'm a human, I'm like, well, what romper won't last long? Well, maybe I need that romper. It's always the titles that get me. And before you know it, I'm finding myself in the checkout box with another stinking romper. And so Ashley from The Farmer Took Wife, make sure your titles are good and that people actually want to click on them and open. Okay, the time that you send your emails are important. So statistics show, or used to show, I'm in deep conversation with Nell, who's in charge of my podcast right now, about old statistics versus new statistics. So old statistics said, send emails on Mondays and Thursdays. Send them at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. in the time zone that most of your people are in. So let's say you are in the Eastern time zone, but the majority of your followers, by the way, go to Facebook or in your CRM, like Entreport, ConvertKit, whatever. Look and see where most of your people are at. Mine are in Central time zone. Let's say mine were in, West Coast, though. I need to make sure I'm sending them at like 10 or 2 in the time zone that they're in. Why? Well, if you send an email at Monday morning at 8 a.m., people are going to go delete. And I'll tell you why. If half of your clients are like mine and they work a 9-to-5 job, when they get in the office on a Monday morning, they are busy cleaning out that train wreck of an email that they have, right? They're like, holy crap, I got 400 emails, this weekend. Delete until they get down to a breathable size of things that they need to respond to. Anybody know what I'm talking about? By 10 a.m. on a Monday or after lunch on a Monday, people are more like, okay, now I can actually look at each email that comes in to my inbox as I'm sitting here today. Also, Thursdays are good. Why? Well, especially if you have an audience that are moms or that are entrepreneurs or that just like the lake, summer in general. You don't want to be sending emails on Fridays because people are checking out. They're like, how the heck do I get out of this jail cell that I'm calling a JOB? How do I get out of here as quickly as possible and get to the lake where I can pop open a margarita with my girlfriends and float up a river? I mean, this is real life. So you want to send emails at times when people are going to open them, okay? Let's see. If you can get people, Ashley, to respond to your emails, it will help with your open rate as well. So right now, for instance, if you're on our email list, and if you're not on my email list, I don't know why. Please get on my email list. How do I even tell you to get on my email list? I don't know. I think it's at jenniferallwood.com/subscribe. I don't know. I didn't plan for this. But anyhow, so if you get on somebody's email list, it's great if one of your first emails back to them, Ashley, is something where you ask them to hit reply. Why? Well, because then like the email gods see the email coming as a conversation, because what email is having a tendency to do is email, if it's coming from a company, your email provider is seeing a lot of times things as spam, and it's just putting your emails in people's spam folders. And so in order to get your emails out of the spam folders and actually into their inbox, you want to ask people to reply to an email, ask them a question. And if they hit reply, then your email provider is like, oh, it's a conversation here. It's not a one-sided street. So we're going to go ahead and let the next emails into their inbox. Does that make sense? I hope so. Thanks, Ashley, with The Farmer Took Wife. Okie dokie. Next question came from Sarah Stewart Morin. And Sarah, I do not have your business name here. So if you know Sarah Morin, will you let her know? Sarah said, could you please describe how you plan out your days using your day planner and your time blocking? Okay. Sarah, I know you want a sexy answer. Let me think of how I want to answer this, Sarah, because I could answer you in a way that makes me sound like a smart businesswoman, but then I could also answer in the way that's totally the truth. And you know who I am by now, and you know I'm always going to err on the side of truth, even if it doesn't make me sound like the smart businesswoman that I hope you think I am. Okay, number one, we do some time blocking in my business, meaning on days when I need to do a podcast, I try to do several in a row. When I need to edit some of my blog posts, I try to edit 3 or 4 of them in a row. Hope gets them to me all at once. I look at them all at once. When I'm trying to, get our social media scheduled, I try to go through, edit words, add words, whatever for the week all at once. Okay. However, a lot of my life is by the seat of my pants. And this is how I personally do best. Now listen. You are going to have every guru in the world tell you a way that you need to do your business, Sarah, in order for it to be successful. That's my best Thurston Howell voice. And every time I see a business owner telling you how to do your business in a way to be successful, I want to barf in my mouth because I'm like, for the love of God, not everybody is a cookie cutter. Cookie cutter. Can I say that? We aren't all cookie cutter business people. Everybody does things differently. Whereas I was writing my book today in the living room in front of the fireplace under a blanket, then the sun came out, so then I went out and wrote by the pool. Yesterday I wrote on a different table by the pool. The day before it was a different one, okay? So why I prefer to move around and have a lot of change and not be chained down to a calendar and all the other ways that people try to manage their time, you may really need to do things in a more organized manner. So what I need for you to figure out is I need for you to figure out how do you operate best, Sarah? And then how can you also utilize your time best? I know a couple just points that I think are really good for everybody across the board is this. I leave blocks of time open for nothing. For instance, Fridays. I don't normally work on Fridays at all. I'm recording a podcast today only because I was off Monday this week. But I leave Fridays completely open. My team knows not to put anything on my calendars on Friday. I just don't. I leave it wide open so that I don't have to work if I don't want to. Okay. So also I try to schedule anything that's relatively important for the morning hours because I think more clearly in the morning hours. So if I have a coaching call with somebody, if I'm coaching my inner circle members, I don't want to do that at 4:00 in the afternoon. And they don't want me to do it at 4:00 in the afternoon because I'm not as quick on my feet. It's like I only have so much brain capacity in a day. And so anything that requires more thinking, I have to do earlier in the day because I'll be toast by the end of the day. Can anybody hear what I'm saying? And so anyhow, if you are someone who is what's called a rooster, then do your best work, your hardest stuff, the stuff that's going to change your business in the morning. If you're an owl, then do it at midnight, babe. My husband works best at midnight. Vicky, my administrative assistant, executive assistant, she works best later in the day. And I let her do that. To the glory of God, you make your own hours, get your work done. I don't care when you do it, but do it when is best for you. So that to me is way more important than teaching somebody how to use their day planner and how to time block. I hope that that's helpful. Okay. Jenny Allen with Simply Southern Furniture. If you know Jenny Allen at Simply Southern Furniture, please let her know I'm talking about her. She says she's a longtime podcast listener. Thank you, Jennifer. And I like your name, girl. We're right here. I've listened to every podcast. Thank you so much. Your question is how to know whether to hire someone to do a job for you or to do it yourself. For example, how do you hire for example, do I hire a VA to do things I'm capable of doing? Okay, Jennifer, I love this question. I love this question so much. Okay. There are times in your business, especially in the beginning, when usually finances are a little bit tighter, when you kind of have to wear all the hats, right? Early on, you kind of got to know all the things because you're brand new to business. And in order for you to ever teach somebody to know how to do the things, you probably have to try the things, etc. There will come a point, though, where either you're making a little bit of revenue or you are stretched to the max, or you quite frankly just don't want to do it anymore when it's time to hire help. And people don't like to talk about this because they feel like if I can do it, I should do it. And that is such like a poverty mindset of thinking. Just because I can type up all of my own blog posts, that's not the best use of my time. The best use of my time in my business and for the 7 people I employ is Jen do what only Jen can do, Jen do what Jen's really good at, and everybody else does all of the other things. Does that make sense? So if you have things that you don't love, that you aren't fantastic with, that you don't understand, or quite frankly, you don't want to do anymore, honey, hire that stuff out to the glory of God and be done with it. Because what happens when you get help in your business is you are able then to even just clear your mind in a way that will allow you to be really creative and think about other things in your business and to implement other things in your business. I know we have team meetings every single Monday here at Team Allwood, and we're all 7 on the calls. And a lot of times it's me just reading notes that I've made on my phone and telling my team, I got to just get all of this out of my brain. And now you just do what you want with it. But now it's out of my brain. And so I can think about other things. For a lot of us creatives, I think that we need to understand that we only have the capacity to carry so much information in our brain at any one given time. We only have the capacity to hold so many ideas. We only have, a certain amount of head space. Do you know what I mean? And so if you're trying to do all the things and think about all the things and implement all the things and learn all the things, you have zero capacity left over to really focus on the things that will actually change your business. If you are in fact truly an entrepreneur, Jennifer Allen with Simply Southern Furniture, or anybody else listening to this podcast, then you have been literally gifted with being a visionary. People that can't think outside the box don't become entrepreneurs. People who have no vision don't become entrepreneurs. They stay in jobs they hate or love forever and ever. But it requires people who are visionaries and who can think outside of the status quo to become an entrepreneur. So if in fact you're really an entrepreneur, Jennifer, then you have tons of ideas. God gifted you with the ability to think of a lot of things. Well, how on earth are you going to execute any of those things when you yourself are the ones taking your adorable furniture to the place where you sell it every week? You're literally the one driving it there. How are you going to be able to do any of those other creative things when you're literally the one sitting down and ordering paint every week? How are you going to be able to do any of those really creative, amazing ideas that you have for your business when you're the one that's billing people for things? You're typing up invoices. Girl, that is not what you're supposed to be doing. Now listen, it's not a matter of we're too good for certain things. It's that if you want to grow your business, you have got to wrap your head around the fact that you can't do all the things. If you think JoJo Gaines is doing all the things, wrong. If you think Oprah Winfrey is doing all the things, wrong. If you think anybody with any sizable business is doing all the things, you are so wrong. You have to get help around you. So Jennifer, if you can hire people to do anything that you're not good at or don't want to do, girlfriend, please do it yesterday. Get to hiring so you get some brain space and some time and the capacity to actually do the things in your business that are going to be game changers later on. One of the things I think I literally am best at my business is delegating. I don't do anything that, and I never did. It's because I already know what somebody's going to say. They're already going to say, well, it's easy to say when you've got a multi-7-figure a year business. I was delegating when we were making $90,000 a year. Can somebody hear what I'm saying? I was delegating at $100,000 a year. Yes, of course, at several million a year, we've got to delegate much more. But I have always been a delegator. It has never occurred to me that just because I'm not doing all of the things that it's not mine. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck. And it's a poverty mindset thinking you've got to do all the things in order for it to A, be done perfect, or B, for it to be yours. Please get over that. And Jennifer, I know that's not where you're at, and I'm super excited for you. So, okay. Rachel Granstra from Little House on the Feedlot. Is that not the cutest business name? Let's say that again. Little House on the Feedlot. That's so cute. She wants to know what I think of Evergreen for selling courses. Okay. In layman's terms, what Rachel is saying is, I'm guessing she knows that my Creators Roadmap course, we only launch once a year. And evergreen products mean they're for sale all the time. So right now, if you go to creatorsroadmap.com, you cannot buy the course. It's offered once a year. We just had it open in February, had a huge launch. And what she's asking is, what do you think of courses that are open all the time? So listen, Rachel, there is definitely something to be said for only releasing things on occasion. Now, it could be more than once a year, but it is working really well right now for our business to launch Creators Roadmap once a year. We had a goal of doing $1 million in sales in 4 days for that course back in February. We did not hit our goal, but we were well over 3/4 of the way there to that goal of $1 million in 4 days. And the part of that reason is because of the anticipation building up to the launch, the only allowing people to come in once a year. That forces people. It's just like right now, if you are craving Chick-fil-A, you know you better go today or tomorrow, depending on what day you listen to this, because Sunday they're closed. If you need to go get yourself some craft supplies at the Hobbly Lobbly, you know darn good and well they're closed on Sunday. So it creates for you this like need to go sooner, right? Now, some people are like, I could never, only offer things once a year or close my brick and mortar stores for several days a week. I'm trying to get more customers in. And if I close several days a week, like we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. No, what actually you do, it's like having 2 doors or 4 doors into the gymnasium. And you decide to close and lock 2 of the doors. Now you just have to funnel more people in through the ones that are open. That's what it's like. You're just funneling people into the 1 time a year that you open or 2 times a year that you open or whatever. Even though Chick-fil-A is closed 1 day a week, I do believe, and somebody like Google check me on this, but I do believe they're number 2 in sales for fast food restaurants only to McDonald's. They're open 6 days a week and they're doing more than the Wendy's, the Burger King, the Taco Bells, the whatevers. So Rachel, I am a huge fan of only offering courses on occasion. But I've seen other entrepreneurs be very successful with evergreen courses as well. So Jen Bryan has a business called Tide Notes. And Jen says, it's a really simple question. How can I turn an online ministry into a business? Okay, Jen, couple ideas for you real quick here. Number 1, do a Bible study. Do a Bible study for $9.99 a month. If I was to go to a Lifeway store right now, if Lifeway were still open, I would pay for a Bible study, right? People think that they're not going to pay for stuff online. Yes, they do. People pay for Bible studies all the time online. Do a Bible study. And remember that people are there as much for the community as they actually are for the Bible study, to meet like-minded people. What about you making memes, making content for other churches to use on their social media? There's a business idea there for you. What about doing curriculum? I know of different companies that do like curriculum for children's church so that churches don't have to come up with new curriculum every Sunday morning. So like there are membership groups out there where you can literally pay them per month a fee and then they send you curriculum for every Sunday at church. I mean, there's lots of ideas like that, but please don't think that just because you have a ministry that it has to be free. Can I say that again for somebody that needs to hear it? Please don't think that just because you have a ministry that you have to do it for free. Also, please don't think that if you don't do it for free that you don't love Jesus. Or that there's something super honorable about the fact that because you love Jesus, your rates better be super low, close to free, because I don't think there's anything honorable in that. When you think about all the money in the world, right, it's going to go somewhere. People are going to make it somewhere. And people that are not, okay, how do I phrase this in a way that doesn't sound offensive? There are more people in the church with hangups about making money than people outside of the church. There we go. I said it. There are more believers who love Jesus, who feel more guilt about making money than anybody outside the church. And somehow we need to get past this because Jesus would love for us to make some money as believers so that we're the ones that can do things like fund relief efforts in Rwanda. I just had a friend ask me yesterday to go to Rwanda. As believers, like, there are people that need to take care of the widows and orphans. Is that not what we are commanded to do in the book of James, right? How are we going to take care of widows and orphans? How could I take care of Ariana if I didn't have the funds to do that? Somebody's going to make the money. Somebody's going to make the money. And us as believers, we've got to get over feeling guilt about money stuff. So Jen, just because you're in ministry, please don't think that that means you have to do it for free or close to free, okay? So rapid fire. I don't know who these questions came from. Nell just typed these up and then we'll finish up this podcast episode, but this could be fun. Somebody typed in and said, TikTok, are you doing it yet? I am not. Now, I do have a TikTok account because I have 3 kids on TikTok and mama's got a spy. I'm no dummy. So yes, I've got a TikTok account, but I'm not using it for business. how do you deal with bad or difficult clients, and how do you walk away when needed? Hey, if you know right away that a client is going to be difficult, we always did something in my painting business called the irritation factor. I would add extra into my bid for the irritation factor because I knew darn good and well I got red flags all over the place. This one's going to be a hot, stinking mess to work for. Do I want to work for? Yeah, but I'm going to make it worth my while. So if you're giving a bid to somebody and you know that they're going to be a difficult client, raise your rates ahead of time. If you've already given them rates, if they're already difficult, if they're standing inside your brick and mortar, listen, friend, life is too short to put up with difficult clients for the sake of a sale. Now, I know you're worried about your reputation. I know you're worried about what people are going to think. But at the end of the day, we don't have to allow our customers to treat us in any way that they want to and just be doormats and take it. For real. We teach people how to treat us. And what I have noticed being a business owner now for almost 20 years is that there are some people who are just difficult in general. They're going to gripe about you and your business regardless. You could have a 9 out of 10 on the service factor, and they're still going to find something to gripe about and something to complain about because it's like they ate, duty for breakfast. I don't know. Some people just are complainers at heart. They just want to complain and find something wrong with stuff. And friend, you are not going to make them happy. I really dislike the saying the customer is always right because the customer is not always right. Now, the customer is always the one paying, but they're not always right. But you as the business owner, you don't have to take it. If you have an inkling that you're going to have somebody who's a super difficult client, it is better for you to cut your losses in the beginning. And you can cut your losses in a good way. You can be like, you know what? I thought that this job was going to be a really good match. But in retrospect, I'm thinking that we just might not be a great fit for each other. And I really want you to find somebody to do this job for you who can do it to the best of their ability that will really satisfy you. And I'm not sure that it's going to be me or my business, but I wish you so much good luck in finding that next person. See how you can do it in a way that's honorable and that makes them feel like you're really thinking about their best interest and really mean that, by the way. And then toodaloo, bye-bye. Okay. Taxes freak me out. Well, girl, get an accountant. There you go. Done. Okay. How did I find my therapist? Okay, I think they're talking about my business therapist. I introduced people to her at the Equipped conference. If you missed that conference, you can still get a ticket at jenniferallwood.com/conference. I know that URL. And I introduced Lori there, and I tell people all the different things that I went to therapy with her over. They were 95% of the things we were talking about were business related. And by the way, any issues you have in your business can always be drilled down to issues outside of your business. And so her and I have done Christian counseling now for over 5 years. Every time I would find myself hitting up against something in my business, I would get with Lori. So she's somebody I know and trust. She is a licensed therapist, and I go to church with her. That is how I find her. And I don't just give her number and name out willy-nilly. So you'd have to get a ticket conference at jenniferallwood.com/conference in order to get that. So there you go, my friends. We just spent a good 45 minutes just doing rapid fire Q&A, and I hope that this was really valuable to you. This is what we do for double this amount of time in my inner circle every single month. And if you're not already in my coaching group, man, I encourage you to. People always say it's because of money. It isn't about money. Usually it's then because you're going to be given information that you know can change your business. And a lot of times it's easier for us just to complain about why our business isn't growing than to go ahead and invest in something that we know will change our business, but that scares us. And so I encourage you, if you're tired of just complaining about your business and your social media not growing, and you're really ready to quit making excuses, because at $47 a month, come on, that's dinner at Applebee's. Then you can go to creatorsinnercircle.com and get on the wait list for the next time we open in September. We would love to have you in there. Now, next week on the podcast, I'm talking about exercise and business. I've been back on the exercise wagon now since February 1st and have dropped some pounds and feeling much better about, just life and myself in general. And there's such a huge connection between doing things in our physical world and doing things in our business. And we're going to talk about that next week on the podcast. So if you don't already get notified every single week when I have a new podcast episode, you need to go right now over to iTunes do a search for The Jennifer Allwood Show, click the button subscribe, and all that means is every week when I have a new episode, you'll get a little notification on your phone, just like you do if your friend texts you, or just like you do if you've got a Facebook notification. It'll just say, hey, there's a new episode on The Jennifer Allwood Show called da-da-da-da-da. Click here if you want to listen. That's it. That's all it does. So go over to The Jennifer Allwood Show, leave us a review if you would, hit subscribe, come back next week. We're going to be talking about the correlation between exercise and business growth, and I cannot wait to have you back there again. So thank you again, friends, for being here this week, and until next week, stay creative. Okay, bye-bye. Hey friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you're here and that you just listen week in and week out and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, or if you're an Android user, go download the Stitcher app and you could subscribe there so that you know every single week when a new episode releases. Also, if you have any time to leave us a review, these reviews are super important in getting guests for the show and sponsors for the show. And so we'd appreciate it if you have just a second to leave us a review. That would be amazing. Thank you guys again for being here. And until next week, stay creative.